So over the past 10 months or so, I've been having dreams which relate to a certain set of circumstances. I put all these dreams in one place on the forums, and we'll be making a series of videos called the Digital Kangaroo Girl series, for reasons which might become clear later. So here are the circumstances. I have left-wing views when it comes to uh, the attitude of various sex acts, and in particular sexual acts that involve animals. It's something that's always interested me, and I commissioned an unrelated story from somebody, and the person who I commissioned had similar views, and in fact was attracted to horses, and we got talking. The person was really interesting, but really eccentric, and um, started to send me image after image after. There must have been about 500 megabytes worth of images that he'd obtained from the internet. There was a whole bunch of them. Uh, None of these images were really obscene. They range from paintings of a blacksmith, uh, fitting a horseshoe and the horse is facing away from the point of view, and um, it's a sort of painting you'd expect to find on the wall of your local pub, possibly. And there were other images. There's photos of horse genitalia. There was a picture of a naked man sitting on a horse and stuff like that. But that was about as heavy as it got. There was certainly no images of animal cruelty, because that I wouldn't stand for at all. But there was also no images of people actually having sex with animals. It was just pictures of animal genitalia, which he found attractive. And I stored all these images. They didn't do anything for me, although, to be completely honest, they should have done. They didn't. Um, so I downloaded them all, and I kind of just stored them. At one point, my laptop computer went fizzed. The motherboard uh, burnt out, and I had to have it repaired. In the meantime, I had to take the computer to a computer shop where they stored everything, you know, on the hard drive onto their hard drive, and then put it back after I got my laptop back from HP. It was under warranty, luckily. Uh, when they put the images back on my, they put the files back on my computer. They were in a folder called "From Old Laptop" or something like that, from old hard drive, and um, I checked to see if they were there, and then I just never looked at them. I knew they were there. I was going to deal with them at some point, but they were just buried somewhere in the corner, and I couldn't be bothered to deal with them, so I didn't. Fast forward to end of September last year. I got a random poking on MSN from somebody that I didn't know, and I don't know how they got added, but it seemed nice enough. And once again, the subject veered onto bestiality. They related a story where it was a female, apparently. They bent over, and they were drunk at a party. They bent over to get some water, and a dog mounted them. And they said they felt guilty about that. And I was saying, well, you shouldn't feel guilty. If you didn't enjoy it, then you certainly shouldn't feel guilty. Um, you know, anything that dogs would feel guilty. And if you did enjoy it, you still shouldn't feel guilty, and in fact, you should allow it. That was my opinion. And I related a story to her in which I hugged a kangaroo, which is true. Um, I did manage to hug a kangaroo once, and that's why I'm calling this Digital Kangaroo Girl, because it sounds cool, basically. Um, yeah, but then the conversation started, just getting weirder and weirder, and she started alluding to um, her being like a child of 11 to 14 years of age who was being sexually abused and brainwashed and drugged by her father, who was taking, photos of her and them together, and she was sending me sending me these photos. Um, and the story didn't make, any sense. I mean, for example, she was on her laptop. I mean, why would she have these images on a laptop, and why would she have access to MSN? Where she could just talk to her friends, and there's all kinds of things like that. But I wasn't taking any chances. I grew up um, with a lot of children who had suffered exactly this type of abuse, and I know that if her father was doing this sort of thing, he would want to keep it under wraps, and one way to do that is to brainwash a child so that when she does tell her story, it sounds, either like a child trying to gain attention or just a troll, which is what this sounded like, to be completely honest. But I wasn't taking any chances. I downloaded all the images. I then burnt. I'm sorry. I then burnt the images onto a DVD with a chat log and an explanation and a disclaimer about the the previous conversation. Um, Burnt it to a DVD, and the next day, because we finished talking about 10 at night, the next day took it down to the police station, the DVD, and I said to them, if you want to examine my laptop, all the files are there. I also, having had, dealings with the police in regards to discrimination and things like that, I also know that they have this thing about evidence. I mean, I know that evidence is important in the court of law, but they won't even investigate unless there's a sufficient amount of, or a certain amount of evidence. So, I wanted to give them all the evidence, uh, that I possibly could. So I said they could take my computer for analysis if they wanted. Um, and then I went home. I hadn't been home for about 10 minutes when two policewomen came round, took some further questions, and then said, yes, we would want to take your laptop computer. At this time, I voiced concern about, mostly about the images. Um, though on the laptop, because I'm aware of this extreme pornography law, or I was aware of this extreme pornography law, and I had sort of glanced over it. It is a completely ridiculous law which um, has been enforced since 2008 in this country, and it covers violent pornography, pornography that um, involves a mutilation of genitalia, necrophilia, and bestiality, pornography, obviously. Um, and I was worried that, I knew this kind of fell under the questionable, um, the category of questionable material, because it was in a folder called animal porn, basically. Um, but that if it went to court, they'd probably just laugh it out. I was worried that it was going to be a compulsory thing, and I was going to be sort of told off, as it were, for um, uh, wasting the court's time. They'd say that I was taking a piss because, why else would you have such images on your laptop, and that sort of bloody thing. Um, I didn't want that hassle, so I kind of voiced concern and said, "Listen, just to warn you, this, I didn't want them coming across them anyway because it might weird them out. So it was just another little disclaimer. I guess I said, look, these images are there. There's nothing concerning about them. I hope nothing will come of them. And they said, no, it should be fine. And as soon as they left, I looked it up on the internet on my backup desktop computer, and um, yeah, basically I discovered there was nothing to worry about. They didn't have to send me to court at all. Obviously, if they did, it would just get laughed out unless I was very unlucky, and even then, it would just probably be a small fine, slap on the wrist. So I relaxed. The computer went from department to department and round up with the CID, where one officer phoned me up, asked me some more questions, and said he thought it was a hoax and all that sort of thing, but he was going to look into it. And he said he'd have my computer for about for up to 6 weeks. He said I'll have it for a while, and it might be as long as 6 weeks. 3 months later, the power supply in my desktop went out. Luckily, didn't take anything with it, but I didn't have a spare power supply. I basically wound up taking it to the shop and having them test it and all that sort of thing. And I didn't know what was going on. I had no way to contact Sky because obviously I had no laptop, and I couldn't find an internet cafe that actually had computers. Whenever we found an internet cafe, and it turned out to just be a cafe with free Wi-Fi or something. So, I found something eventually, but I couldn't. I was sort of panicking because my computer just went out without warning, and I had no way to contact Sky or anyone to tell them what was going on. So I called them up and I said, "Where's my computer?" The same officer who'd been calling me called around and told me that there was nothing wrong with the images of the little girl, of the woman, whatever, but he was going to have to destroy my laptop, and not return it, because of the animal pictures, and I protested. I said, look, they're not that bad, or we think we are, he said. I said, well, they're not. There's nothing really illegal about them at all. Really, if you use that law properly, there's nothing wrong with them at all. And why not, rather than destroy the computer, why not just wipe the hard drive and give me back the computer? I kind of need it. And it was like, oh no, we have to destroy the computer. And he made me sign a disclaimer. I was on my own. It was late at night. It was my birthday, and it was stupid. And I was anxious about Sky and all that sort of thing. So I signed the thing, because he said otherwise he'd arrest me. And as I said, I was anxious about contacting Sky and all that sort of thing. And yeah, that was that. And then I talked to people, after I calmed down a little bit and I got my desktop back up and running. I talked to a few people and they were saying, it doesn't make sense, and all the rest of it. And we were going to have a meeting, me and some support workers, and some police involved. We're going to have a meeting to well, about the situation, and rather than arrange this meeting, I was sent, rather than agreeing to having this meeting. Sorry, I was sent this letter, um, sort of like the 10th of January, sometime, and it reads. On Wednesday, the 4th of January 2012, I spoke to your support worker and he said you were confused about what has happened regarding your computer. So I will explain it in writing. I like to tell a story. Um, I went to a sort of strange religious pagan Christian Rudolf Steiner boarding school, and you get some funny characters in there. In the staff sometimes, and I was doing the washing up. Um, and when I do the washing up, I like to have the water piping hot, and I like to use the brush. That's just the way I roll. Um, one of the other, one of the staff members had a different idea. He likes to have lukewarm water and to scrub the pot clean, which is fair enough. But he was convinced that this was the only way, um, the only way to do things, and he made me change to his method. No, fair enough. I'm not going to argue. I changed it to lukewarm water, and I do things his way. Another member of staff came up and said, um, "Oh no, you're doing it wrong. You have to do it this way." And he explained that, you know, you have scalding hot water, and he used the brush. And I was like, exactly. And I changed it his way again. I was like, thank you. And then the other person came, the original person came back and said, no, what are you doing? I thought I told you to use lukewarm water. And I was like, yes. The other person said to do it this way, and this is a way, you know, uh, I wash up, this is a way I bang the drum, so, I'm sorry. And I went to carry on, and rather than, accept that, some people might have different opinions to him, he kind of assumed that I was just too stupid to understand him on a linguistic level. And, he pushed me to one side, changed the water for me, grabbed my arms, and, tried to teach me how to do the washing up kind of his way, as if, any other method of washing up, is just completely ludicrous. And I think anyone would agree that, this guy was a bit of a wanker, at least, in regards to that situation. And, it's a pet hate of mine, and this just reminds me so much of that. We're in a disagreement. We're in a disagreement because he's basically stolen my computer. We're asking him to explain himself, and he's saying, oh no, you're confused. So I'm going to simplify it for you in this letter. It continues. On the 27th of September 2011, you attended the police reception to report that you had been sent images of a female that you were concerned were underage. An officer that day attended your home address and took further details, and you consented to your laptop being analysed, but said to the officer that there may be other images on the computer involving sex of animals. Well, two officers came round. He was shaking. When he came round, before he left, he was shaking, and this letter contains, a few errors like that. One officer instead of two officers. He gets, one of the dates wrong. Um, it's kind of interesting, but yeah, I didn't really say there may be images of, involving sex with animals. I said there was certainly images, in a folder titled animal porn, and it just um, had naked pictures of horses. Um, But I was concerned that I was going to get into trouble with this under the Extreme Pornography Act. It continues. This incident was passed to me, it was passed for me to look into. I spoke to you several times over the phone and explained that I had submitted your laptop to the high-tech crime unit for analysis. High-tech crime unit analysed the laptop and were happy that the female in the image was over 18 years of age. He didn't speak to me several times over the phone. He spoke to me once. And then what happened was, I tried to get in hold of him, failed each time. Each time he got back to me a couple of days later, when I wasn't in, and left a message on my answer phone. I think a couple of which I still have. And then the next time I actually spoke to him when he was arranging to come to my house, and when he actually came to my house. So yeah, and was the girl really over 18, or was it just that the images were kosher? I don't know. I think she was from Italy. Italy have a lower age consent. I don't know how that affects the law over here. Not really interested, to be honest. But I would assume it would still be illegal over here to view images that are legal in Italy. But I don't know. This next paragraph is interesting. It continues. However, on your laptop were a large number of images involving sexual intercourse with animals. This is a clear offence under the Obscene Publication Act of 1959 with a maximum sentence of 5 years imprisonment. No, there wasn't. Sexual intercourse with animals, that evokes the image of a human being having penetrative sex with an animal. I mean, technically, I guess it could mean, images from the Discovery Channel, but neither of these things were present on my bloody hard drive. It was just pictures of animal genitalia, just naked pictures of horses. And and he says he saw the images, and it's like, well, if he saw the images, what the fuck's going on? That's complete bollocks, and it's not a offence under the Obscene Publications Act 1959. I'll put a link to that law. Basically, it's a law that came about, obviously, actually long before 1959, but 59 was the latest amendment, the latest version of the law, and it's aimed at public. I think the novel Lolita was banned under this act, as was another famous novel, the name of which I don't remember, but it's on the national curriculum now. And I know Penguin Books was stung a couple of times with this, and it was to prevent, publishers like Penguin from publishing obscene material that nowadays would be, just considered adult. 50 Shades of Grey would certainly fall under this sort of jurisdiction if they attempted to release it in, 59, and under the logic, that it might, what do you call it? That's right, it might corrupt the, the readers, and make them do nasty things, or ungodly things or whatever. Of course, the law nowadays is hardly ever used. But there have been, so how does that relate to me? Well, there has been incidents in Kent mostly, oddly enough, where people have been, engaged in either violent role play or age play, whatever, over um, instant messaging um, applications such as MSN or AIM, and the police are trying. The law is trying very hard to get these people arrested under this obscene publication law, under the logic that uh, when you type up your message and press return, you're publishing a written work to um, you know even if it's just to one person. Of course, this is utterly ridiculous. It's been ridiculed in the press. It was thrown out of court, and I'll put links to that. But even if that's what he was trying to do, that's got nothing to do with these elusive, blinking, stupid bestiality pictures. Has it? That's an offence. That would be an offence under the Extreme Pornography Act of 2008. And if he tried to, the circumstances being as they were, if he tried to arrest me on these charges, he would just be made to look like a bloody fool when it eventually went to court. Uh, 5 years imprisonment as well. I'm not sure. Like I said, I mean, this law is for large, aimed at large-scale publications. So, um, I think 5 years is accurate for that particular law as a maximum sentence. You have to, continue to publish a novel despite warnings and despite it being banned and stuff. I think for that to happen. I wasn't publishing my shit at all. I just had them on the hard drive sitting. I wasn't even looking at them. For one thing. The extreme pornography law has a similar section, where, it's usually like a 2 year maximum imprisonment and a sort of a vague fine, and, they vaguely mention a fine, and, and, uh, yeah, if you publish your work, though, the maximum sentence goes up to 5 years. Um, so that little paragraph is full of bullshit. It continues. I spoke to you again on the phone on the 11th of December 2011 and arranged to come to your home address that evening. I explained that there were illegal images in your laptop involving animals and therefore the police would not be returning your laptop and it would be destroyed, as per our policy. I also explained that even though you had committed an arrestable offence, we would not be taking further action against you as you were effectively doing the right thing by reporting your concerns about child pornography. You then signed a property disclaimer giving up rights to your laptop. Yours sincerely. Well, this is the point. I mean, either or. Either I create um, committed this awesome offence and should be arrested and hanged, or I didn't at all, and you shouldn't have taken my bloody laptop. I mean, they're really just uh, using the laws as they see fit. Interpreting the laws as you know to convenience themselves, and uh, this is so corrupt. And yes, I had to sign a disclaimer. I mean, why did I have to sign that disclaimer? Why was I basically bullied into signing this um, thing that gave up, you know, rights to my laptop? If he had the right to seize it in the first place, which he clearly bloody didn't. Even with the if I had all kinds of nasty images, it would have been a matter of them keeping the laptop and me being taken to court and everything, or them dropping the charges altogether, depending on this depending on the situation. But basically, I had no right to seize my laptop. They basically had to bully me into signing this disclaimer. Basically giving them the laptop as a gift so that they could quote unquote destroy. But then why didn't they give me back the power supply? Do we think the computer's been sold? And I can only hope that they've completely wiped the hard drive or changed the hard drive over before selling it. If that's the case, or that it hasn't fallen into the hands of some troll or something who's now got access to all my login details and my bloody PayPal. Although I think I changed all that, but initially all my PayPal details, all this bloody information. It's a complete invasion of privacy, like a complete invasion of privacy. And not only had I done nothing wrong, but I was just trying to do the right thing by reporting this uh, potential child abuse incident, which they clearly don't give a crap about. So, yeah, this kind of conjured up, a lot of concerns. I wanted to take further action, but I was afraid that he would just I'll just, you know, continue digging myself into a hole and eventually open Pandora's box. Uh, on the pretext of the police being, corrupt. They're corrupt enough to lie, to steal my laptop, and to do all this crap. So how do I know the Independent Complaint Commission, which is what I'd have to go through, isn't the same? And how do I know they're not going to pull any more little stunts like that? It's just, I'd need some sort of protection, which I wasn't getting because, if, as far as, onlookers are concerned, I could be lying through my eyes. It could have been, anything on that laptop. And if it's proven so, then, anyone who was sticking up for me would look like idiots as well. So, yeah, that kind of put me up shit's creek, really, and I wound up just, buying a new laptop like 9 months later. It also conjured up concerns about, keeping in touch with Sky and also keeping up my correspondence. This channel hasn't, dream videos that the dream video channel that I started around the time of this incident. For the past 9 months, I've only had one, really simple video up, and I've only recently uploaded one other video. So all my projects, or most of my projects, had to be put on hold. It was more difficult for me to keep in touch with Sky because it really is a pathetic, quite an old laptop. Desktop. And all that sort of. Of course, there was concerns, just about the cheek of the matter. I just wanted compensation. I didn't want them to get away with. I didn't want the police to get away with stealing my property, and yet that seems to be what's you know, what they're doing. And of course there was, it conjured up again, these feelings of the legality and the morality of various sex laws, and particularly laws involving sex with animals, and now, the sort of more pedophilic, aspects of things, child pornography and stuff. It conjured up kind of deep, it learn to speak. It brought to the surface, those kind of interests again, and all of these issues and more, I believe, have sort of found their way into a great many of my dreams. Both of the dreams that I've uploaded have something to do with this incident, and the Dead Fluttershy Part 2 does as well, which I'm working on, and I dare say there are many other audio-only recordings that have a similar interpretation attached. So yeah, that's the scenario. So hopefully that will give you a better insight into the digital Kangaroo Girl series of dreams.